I have the spookiest hospice story you will ever hear. It's pretty woo-woo. If you like that kind of thing, you're going to love this one. This happened at a hospice care center. We had two patients whose rooms were kind of kitty corner and adjacent from each other. In the first room was a man who was dying of cirrhosis of the liver. He was pretty much out of it, actively dying, confused when he was awake, and he had this yappy little dog that was always on the bed with him. The second patient down the hall was a woman with ALS who had decided to do voluntary stop eating and drinking so that she could end her life. This lady had been with us for a long time, and she had heard that we did an honorary toast with the family members of the person after they died with non-alcoholic, sparkling cider. And she decided that she would like to have that done before she died. It had been 3 weeks since she had anything to eat at all. She'd still had a cup of coffee each morning, but she had stopped eating completely, and she was really getting close to the end of her life. So one night she summons the evening staff and she says, "I want to do the toast now." Meanwhile, down the hall, our guy with the liver disease is pretty much unresponsive, and for once his yappy little dog is not being yappy. The dog is just sleeping on the bed and the family is in the room with him. So the staff is gathered around Our Lady, and they all have their little champagne flutes with their fake champagne, and they're each saying something about her, and after the last person speaks, she dies. That by itself is very woo-woo, because people rarely have a moment where they say, "I'm going to die," and then they die, or they call everybody in and say, "It's time, I'm going to die," and then they die. This doesn't happen very often, but it happened in this case. So she's dead. And now down the hall, this little yappy sleeping dog wakes up and starts yapping at the door. And the guy, who's been mostly unresponsive, sits up in the bed, looks at the door and says, "Who are you?" "Oh, okay," and then lays back down and is unresponsive again. And the family says, "There's no one at the door." So we're all pretty convinced that Our Lady's spirit was walking past his room. True story, I shit you not.